one thing that I find, one of our witnesses mentioned that the Keitel survey was supposed to prioritize, and it just seems to me, standing back and listening to everything, that we haven't had that prioritization. And maybe we should, there's been, when you have so many projects at one time, it indicates that there hasn't been a real fighting it out of what priorities we need. And I'm not, certainly not an expert enough to tell you what those priorities should be. Let me ask some specific concepts or ideas about the engineering that I don't know about. What type, well, first of all, is there any one of these missions that planned to, we know we've landed the robots on Mars. Do we plan to actually bring some material from Mars back to Earth before we plan to send human beings there and bring them back?
Indeed, the Mars 2020 mission, which is going to core rock, providing a detailed look at the past Mars, the geological records in that rock. We are currently looking at a variety of architectures.
Right. But are we going to bring them back?
Our intention would be indeed that as the importance of these samples are noted based on the analysis that we do in situ, that indeed we would plan on bringing samples back from Mars.
Okay. The reason I ask that is it seems to me that rather silly to think that if we can't bring back rocks, that we're going to bring back people. And certainly if we aren't comfortable with the idea that we can bring back rocks, we should be focusing on getting that done before we talk about bringing people back. What type of, the exploration is, to me, that's the most inspiring. I'll just have to tell you that when we talk about going out and visiting those places where nobody has been, and what type of fuel are we using? There was a mention about one of the things when we run out of fuel, it's going to land into Europa or something like that. What type of fuel is now being used in these various projects? We know that you have to have a big rocket to get them going, but if they're going to keep going and through the universe, what fuel do they use?
Yeah, Mars 2020, while it's on the surface, will use a short-lived plutonium isotope, so it's a nuclear power source.
Any other?
May I add to that? During cruise and while orbiting Psyche, our spacecraft will use solar electric propulsion. And this, to me, is so, it's in our heart, it's space age. You see the little blue plumes of the ions being shot out the back, and it's all run by solar power. And in fact, this is another good proof of this technology, which is eventually going to be critical for getting people to Mars.
Yeah, I noticed that I remember the solar sail project, and which also is very exciting. These new concepts that, and let me just note, Mr. Chairman, that the fact that we can actually provide a fuel for something that far away and indicates that maybe we have some knowledge that's going to really help us here. But one last thought, I would hope that, again, I think the moon is close by, and whatever we can actually get a benefit out of going back there, we should, before you take the next step. However, the most important thing was if Mars, can I ask permission for 1 minute for this question? And that is, you have indicated that Mars was totally different thousands of years ago. Is it possible that there was a civilization on Mars thousands of years ago?
So the evidence is that Mars was different billions of years ago, not thousands of years ago.
Well, yes.
There is no evidence that I'm aware of that.
Would you rule that out? That, see, there's some people. Well, anyway.
I would say that is extremely unlikely.
Okay. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for the good job you're doing.